Now, I want to congratulate you all for being here first and foremost. You all remembered to be here, which means at least you can remember to do one thing. So there is hope for all of you. You're capable of memory. Now, I see some empty seats, so it looks like some people are missing, which, being a seminar on memory, kind of makes sense, that they forgot. And now that you're here, this is going to be a night where we're going to get your memory working a lot better. In fact, this will probably be a night you won't forget. We'll get all your memories working better, and the nice thing is you'll have no doubt about it. Now, I have clients ask me, well, actually, I ask them because I always like to investigate the minds of my clients. I ask them, what do you think memory is? And they say, well, my memory is the thing I forget with. And I always remember that. Because most things people complain of is they complain about having a bad memory. Now, here's the cool thing, ladies and gentlemen. In order to know that you forget, you have to remember. And you can even remember the things that you forget. So what I do with my clients is I have them take the things that they remember to forget, and I just have them to remember to forget, and so remember what it is that they need to remember. Big, bright, and clear in their mind, like a better future, more joy, more passion, more excitement, just real big. And clearly. Because what we're going to do is we're going to uncover some ways to remember the past to change your future. Now. And see the gentlemen, we have some gentlemen here, mainly women. Darn, I wish I had more men because this is a seminar men really need to get to, and obviously they didn't get here. Proof and point, they need work, right there, Miss McVeigh. Because one of the most important things is the ability to remember facts, remember responsibilities, remember events, important things, which for guys I've learned is a mighty important thing. And for women, you know, if I just have a little suggestion, it'd be nice if you could remember the good things too. I know it's all about you, and as a man, I understand that. However, it's nice, the reciprocation. Now, the thing is we've seen in news a lot of tragedies recently. And the thing is, tragedies and tragedies in general, they're represented as just memories in our mind. Now, our memories are just representations. And every single problem that we have just exists as a memory. And those memories are there, but you're here now, which is kind of nice. They're there, and then when you go to then tomorrow there, the problems may still be there, but you may go somewhere else. Or you may go back to the same place, and that is the single most important thing I'm going to say tonight.
Wow.
And you're all sworn to secrecy, you tell no one.
Okay.
How you doing, man? So, tragedies exist as memories in our mind. And case in point is the beliefs that I'm a slow learner. You know, my teacher said, and I have clients, they come in, I had a client named Jimmy come in, and he said, when I was in grade 2, and then I just hear the big voice in my mind like, dun, dun, dun. I stood up in my class and I tried to read, and I did a bad job. And ever since then, every time I go to speak in front of a group, the trauma, the grade 2 picture of when I failed appears in my mind. And I remember the X's on my report card when the teacher said, Jimmy's not good at communication. But the thing is, they didn't teach you. They didn't teach you at the first time. They didn't even teach you how to do it. They just told you to do it. They didn't teach you how to read. Most of us got up in their read and we read out loud in a grade 2 voice. We still have a grade 2 voice in our head. when we're reading. Is that not true? So what I did is I took Jimmy and I told him, well, you could see that memory in your mind, yeah? In fact, all of you could see a memory in your mind, a time where you felt less than, or maybe a time where you were told that you couldn't do something. So I had Jimmy remember that memory. I had him see the teacher. Then I had him tell him that they didn't tell you that you could take that memory, rewind it, run it backwards, all the way back to the beginning, and it flattens out the neurons. In fact, you could even see that teacher. You could change the size of her, can't you, Jimmy? He goes, yeah. Okay, make the picture bigger. He said, oh, I don't want to do that. So I said, okay, make it smaller. So he took the teacher and made it smaller. And I said, make it to an incy-wincy little size, little teacher. So he made it little size, little teacher. And I said, okay, now I want you to hear the teacher saying exactly what you were saying. That Jimmy will never be able to read. And then he started laughing and giggling, of course. And then I said, Jimmy, okay, I want you to float up all the way up into the sky, look down like you're looking at Earth, see Jimmy all the way back in grade 2 being hypnotized. And I want you to look at Jimmy being hypnotized, and I want you to go, oh, shucks, they got me. They tricked me, you know, that sucker I was. And then he started giggling. And the thing is when you change your perspective, it changes how the memory is represented, and it changes what you're able to do. Because the fact is, ladies and gentlemen, none of you are told or taught how to actually remember. We're just told to remember. Now this applies to everything. So when it comes to motivation, who in here has difficulty motivating themselves? Now, you could probably even remember the exact thing that you have difficulty motivating yourself to, yeah? I have clients tell me that, and then they come to me to get motivated. So I'm like, okay, let me get this straight here. You're coming to me to get absolutely out of this freaking world, juiced and motivated to take on the freaking world. And you're remembering the things that you're not motivated to do so you could aim your future at your past. Does that seem smart? Of course not. Then there's the things about the depressions. Now these depressions exist as memories. These depressions exist as memories for the past or limits memories for the future. The same thing with our anxieties. Either memories about the past that make us feel bad or memories for the future, bad planning. Then there's phobias. Phobias show your ability to learn things in absolutely one shot. Do I have any phobics in the house? Now, would you like to keep your phobia? No. I wasn't talking to you. You didn't raise your hand. Gregory raised his hand. Well, the thing is with phobias, actually, I don't get rid of phobias because I kind of like it. Want to know why? Because you can remember something in one shot. Now imagine for you, for your business, if you could imagine, like learn those new innovations in one shot. Be kind of cool, wouldn't it? But most people, you know, you could go and you could analyze yourself for 5 years to find out why you had the phobia as opposed to use it in a most exquisite way. Now, one more thing on memories is, who here has heard about the tragedy that happened with the bus and the children, and then you just have some doorknob, you know, go crazy and start driving. Oh, okay, we'll drive on the sidewalk. We've heard about these things, yeah? In fact, I worked with a family who had something similar like this happen, and they lost both their children. They came and they said, well, there's really no more point to live. And she was depressed, she was miserable, she wasn't going out and do anything. It was a really, really sad story. And then I remembered one of my teachers working with someone, and he said to them, the truth beyond truth question. Because you can take someone with zero experience meditating, zero experience controlling their own brain, and poof, in the blink of an eye, take them into a deep, profound REM, super learning state. Does that sound good, ladies and gentlemen? Yep. But then people say, well, what are you going to make me buck like a chicken? And I seen that shit online, and I'm thinking, holy shit, This guy's got them in a freaking trance, man. He's got their inhibitions reduced. Why the hell is he turning him into a freaking chicken, man? Why don't you turn him into Superman? That's what I'd be doing. Why are you making people balk like chickens? There's enough of that out there. Just walk outside. Turn on the TV. Turn them into Superman. You know, get them into a state where they can conquer each and every one of their fears. Every one of the things that they couldn't do. Make it so they can go into a state where they can see that smart, sexy, fit body that they've been waiting ever so long to just step into, so they can see it clear in their mind and step into it now. So that's what we're going to do. A lot of that. Now, one thing I want to do is, this is a really important distinction. Now, most people have science all wrong, academics all wrong. And I have a client come in, son of two very famous medical doctors. The kid is a brilliant, absolutely brilliant artist, poet, novelist. He's written books, he has paintings, they auction them off. And when he comes to school, oh, boy doesn't like school. Because he thinks about academics, and the parents say, well, Johnny, you have to have chapter 6 of calculus read by next Tuesday, 4 p.m. And you need to structure and be regimented and disciplined and get up at 6 a.m. every day. And you know, you go to the gym every day and you study from 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. Then you get a little break and then you go study some more. Enjoy your life, kid. So he thinks about school, and he gets all these bad feelings, drudgery, resentment and stuff, so his brain just starts shutting off. But I didn't tell him, hey Jimmy, you're an artist. Everyone's got this whole thing wrong. You're thinking like everyone else. You're getting duped like everyone else. You got an artistic mind, man. What the heck do you think memory is? What do you think is the ultimate art form? The pictures and things that you paint in your own mind. Someone came in your house, they drew graffiti, would you leave it there? No. But you'd leave one in your head. Ooh, no one's thinking about their problems now. Because they weren't realizing that something like memory in academics is actually the ultimate. Science is the ultimate artistic, creative endeavor. And in fact, all the most brilliant people who've touched the surface of this planet have done something magical. It's called hallucinations. Now, some people get locked up for their hallucinations. Other people get paid big bucks for their hallucinations. The latter were the ones who got paid the big bucks. Einstein. What did he do? Thought experiments. He imagined, and Einstein describes scientific thought as more or less different images reproduced and combined in different forms. He imagined riding on a beam of light until he did all these different thought experiments where he, got the right feeling on which that felt. He's like, hey, that's how the universe works, man. Boom. And all the while he's cracking jokes, having a good time. How about Tesla? Tesla would actually imagine machines being made. Like imagined a whole jet engine being made. Then he built tools in his mind. He imagined them. Then he ran the jet engine in his mind for 3 months in his own head while he was doing the same thing on the outside. He didn't look at the outside. Then at the end of the 3 months, he took apart the engine on the outside. He took apart the engine in his own head. They were the exact same. This was a guy who invented more things than any other inventor on the face of the planet. Now, if you guys are listening, you may not understand how absolutely freaking awesome this is. These tools are reproducible and you can train them and learn them. And in fact, that's what we're going to do tonight. Now, a lot of memory depends upon our ability to visualize and to create precise images in our mind. And case in point is this is where a lot of times things go bad, is we do it on the other end. We have bad memories. Now, does anyone in here suffer from a bad memory? Meaning you think about a bad memory too much in a day. Leave your hands up. If you think about a bad memory, something shitty that happened, you think about it a lot in a day, it makes you feel bad and you want to do something about it. Here's the nice thing, everyone. When we do these groups, you all get to keep your personal privacy. We don't need to go into any content. I believe in personal integrity. All we need to do is just change the content, the form of how you're thinking. And now, since we're going to be doing all the great, wonderful strategies, this is going to be only for the group here. Thank you very much, Facebook friends. That's why you're here. So, any of you have a bad memory that you think about too much in a day? No one, you don't worry. You guys are like the coolest group ever then. You got a bad memory that you think about too much in a day, sir. Now, when you think about it, how much time in a day do you spend thinking about it?
Maybe 10 minutes.
10 minutes? You ever cook it up to 20 or 30?
Sometimes.
Do you ever take a day off?
I should.
That's a no. So you do 10 minutes a day. And how long have you been doing this?
Oh, probably about 20 years.
So 20 years, 10 minutes a day. Ladies and gentlemen, you guys got at math, or do we want to do math together? 10 minutes a day, hour, 10 minutes a week, 52 weeks in a year, 50 hours,
2,000 hours.
2,000 hours. Now, how many more years are you planning to do this?
20.
Easy there. You're not the vicious hypnotist tonight. I'm the hypnotist tonight, you. Now, when you think about the bad memory, how big is it in your mind? Is it life size or bigger than life size?
No, it's not life size.
So it's smaller.
It's smaller than life size.
So like how small? Like the size of a little ant?
Bigger.
Are we talking like the size of a dog?
No.
So are we talking like an ant-sized dog? Now you're laughing. Are you sure it makes you feel bad? Can you look at it and feel bad now?
At times.
Okay. Is it like you're looking at it through your own eyes or looking at yourself in the image?
Myself in the image.
So you can see the image.
Absolutely.
You see yourself. Okay. Now are you running the memory starting from playing forwards or running from the end going backwards? It's playing forwards, isn't it? Okay. Now, they didn't teach us to take our bad memories and run them in reverse, like rewind, like really, really fast. You remember pressing the VHS and you press rewind?
Yeah.
And you can take the memory and you can actually press rewind all the way back to the very beginning. And actually, you could turn it completely off. Can you see the memory in your mind? Okay, take the memory, and in a moment, not yet, real fast, shrink it down to a dot. Where you look at the memory, you can see it, and then grab it, then shrink it down to a dot real fast, and then blink it black and white. All right, now take a deep breath in through your mouth. Oh, be careful with drinking water. You have to focus. Now, how about anything else? Anything interesting? This is a chance for $20, ladies and gentlemen, to get what people pay a lot of money for. You got a phobia or a bad memory or something?
It's a phobia.
Okay, a phobia of what?
It happened about a month ago. I was driving home on the highway. I was a little bit hungover, but still, totally fine to drive, just a little sleep deprived. And I just had this thought creep in my mind. I've had a few people just faint on me on different occasions, where I've just been talking to them and they've basically just fainted on me.
Yeah.
And I had this thought, what's keeping...
Were they women?
One was a female, one was an older man.
Okay, so 1 out of 2 there.
Yeah. And I just kind of had the thought, what's preventing me from fainting? And immediately I just had this adrenaline burst through my body, and it just felt so overwhelming and almost constricting that I just had to pull over at the next section of the highway. And
Well, you're pretty good at scaring yourself.
yeah, so.
You don't fool around.
No.
Now, just remind me the purpose of that question again. Asking why, what's preventing me from
It was
fainting?
just kind of a thought that crept into my mind really quickly, and because I felt like I was in a little bit of a dazed state, And I thought about that, and then I just, immediately an image just came into my mind of a car crash with my girlfriend and her friend, and it was the fear of that.
You got a pretty vivid imagination.
Yeah.
It's pretty creative.
That's right.
Now, the purpose of that question, I'm not sure why someone would ask themselves that question. It seems like a silly question. Like I have clients, they come in, people have all kinds of bad habits. You guys think you're alone. You guys come in, you think you're the only one with bad habits. Like I had someone come in and they plucked their eyebrows out. And it looked absolutely like just totally ridiculous. And they asked me, why am I plucking my eyebrows out? And it's not really an answer you want to know. There's a gazillion reasons why you can pluck your eyebrows out. Women know about that, but even women know to stop at a certain point. It's just, the question is what's going to get you to stop it. Now, anyhow, when you did ask yourself this question, you got a certain thought and image. And the image, it was like probably huge, life-size, and you could get back some of the feelings now, couldn't you?
Yes, I get it.
Okay. Now, how big is the image? It's bigger than life size?
At that moment, it was. Since then, I've just kind of tried to suppress the thought if I ever feel it.
So you haven't been able to suppress it?
I have been able to suppress it, but it's still there. It's still something that I really try and distract.
How big is it when it's there?
I'd say it's maybe the size of like a big screen TV.
So you have a big IMAX theater in your head to really scare yourself and capture these bad feelings.
In that moment, initially it was an IMAX, but I'd say now it's like a big screen TV, maybe 10 by 10.
Oh, so you're still making yourself feel bad, just a little bit less.
Yeah.
So it's bad, it's just not as bad.
No.
Now, can you see yourself in the memory, or is it like you're looking through your own eyes?
It's like I was looking through my own eyes.
Okay. Now, is there a border on the memory?
No.
No border, so it just emanates out through your whole head. So it actually could cook itself back up to IMAX size if you let it.
Yeah.
If you just take a 1 moment break, your brain could just get it right back there. Mm-hmm. Now, what I'd like you to do is just take that memory and just take it and put a 3-inch thick border around it. You got a favorite color?
Red.
Okay, take a red border. Why don't you try pink?
Yeah.
Pink with little hearts. And then put a pink border around the memory. And then really fast, what I want you to do is just grab it and shrink it down to a dot. Just shrink it down to a dot and then blink it black and white. Shh. Then take a deep breath in through your mouth. Hold it. Slowly let it out through your nose. And then open up the memory, but at the end of the memory. And then take the memory and start to run it backwards. See everything happening backwards. The car flying backwards, people walking, talking, backwards, all the way back to the very beginning. And then just turn it completely off. And then take another deep breath in through your mouth. Hold it. Slowly let it out through your nose. And then, would you like to come up here? We'll do a little work, and then I'm going to get a few other chairs. Do you have any experience like meditation at all?
I have temper, just very mildly with transcendental meditation.
That's like a yes?
Headspace. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm a simple guy. Yes, no.
Yes.
So the nice thing is what Gnosis really is. It's just like guided meditation, where you could almost imagine yourself in an incredibly deep, meditative, relaxed state. And the cool thing is when you go into a really relaxed state, is you can start to control things like your heart rate, your breathing. And if you just look at my eyes, you could already feel it starting to come. And you could feel your eyes beginning to tunnel, your vision. Just take a deep breath in through your mouth. Hold it. Slowly let it out through your nose. And then just sleep. And really relax. And just soften your shoulders. Soften your breathing. You can feel those eyes begin to flutter as you just drift into a deep alpha, relaxed REM sleep. And what I want you to do is I want you to take this arm, just hold it up stiff here, like this. And I don't want you to let it go down. I want you to focus in your mind. I want you to see yourself in that memory, dissociated from above. Scientists take pictures of the Earth from out in outer space, and you could see this small little blue ball down below with its green colors, beautiful blues and hues. And in the same way, you could see yourself in that memory where you got a crappy thought. And I got news for you. That's not going to be the only crappy thought you have in your life. So you can either let the crappy thoughts come or you can do something about it. Now, see yourself in that memory. Only see yourself smaller and smaller and smaller and further removed. And go back to the end of that memory and see. See yourself moving backwards, walking backwards, talking backwards, all the way back to the moment just before that thought came. And ask yourself a better question. Ask yourself, how exquisitely joyful and giggly can I feel? You could feel it coming right away. You remember what a giggling is, yes? Okay, now take a giggle, a big giggle, there you go, a bigger giggle, even bigger. And then you take a deep breath not to giggle, and you giggle even more. And while you're giggling, you could think about that memory, only it'll look completely different. And if something asks you, what's preventing you from fainting, you're going to giggle. Isn't that wonderful? And in fact, the moment, in a second, I'm going to shake this wrist twice, you're going to drop deep, deep asleep. And when you do, you're going to have a wonderful, exquisite dream. You're going to see the guy you really want and would love to be, the guy in control, the guy who, as opposed to looking for things to feel bad about, looks for things to feel wonderful about, and to remember that for only the rest of your life. 1, 2, sleep. Now, Miss McVeigh, would you mind coming up here? And Sylvie, you're going to come up here for a second, too. And any time your mind begins to wander in a silly way, just let a little giggle come. Now, Tammy, it's been a while since I've talked to you. Actually, it's been a while since I talked to you. How are you two ladies?
Good.
Wonderful?
I'm still giggling from the first time.
Wonderful. We're making a good habit of that. Ladies and gentlemen, this is 2 months. Sylvie here is still giggling.
Still giggling.
And giggling can start to spread from one person to the next. Now, I'd like you both to just look at my hands in front of me. Look at my hands. Take a deep breath in through your mouth. And in a moment, I'm going to ask you to do something, and you know what it is, and you're going to drop all the way into it. It's going to feel wonderful. Sleep. Because what I'd like you to do is for Miss McVeigh, oh, Miss McVeigh, I want you to take this arm, hold it up stiff here. And I know you have a little bit of aches and pains, and I want you to just let it go down at the rate and speed at which you let each one of those aches and pains soften in your body. Because you have memories of times where you really felt not so good. You were playing golf and you felt pain, and you went, ouch, and it was still there. Let those memories begin to fade. See the images fading, the feelings, the voices, everything fading down. And in fact, each little bit that hand goes down, I want the images to clear more and more in your mind until the moment your hand touches your knee, we're going to do something absolutely freaking amazing, and you're going to surprise yourself delightfully with how fast you can learn. Because I know, Miss McVeigh, there's been times where you've taken pictures with your phone, taken pictures with your camera. And what I'd like your unconscious to do is I want it to pull up those memories, times where you've taken pictures on a camera, on a phone. And as soon as you took the picture, you saw it pop up on your phone, crystal clear. It could be when you were on a vacation. It could be when you were playing golf. It could be on Christmas holidays. There were times where you took pictures with cameras or with a phone. And what I'd like you to do is, in a moment, you're going to drop into a really deeper sleep. And when you do, your unconscious is going to build a hypnotic, photographic memory, a camera in your mind. Something unbelievable is going to happen. You're going to be able to take precise pictures with that hypnotic camera. And in fact, I could present to you an image of the human brain. And you just use that hypnotic camera. You look at it for less than 1 second, and you could have memory of the entire brain, the entire anatomy, by simply looking at the image in your mind with your hypnotic camera. Just like all the other pictures you took with cameras that you could see immediately clearly after taking them. And that's going to be really wonderful. 1, 2, sleep. Now, Sylvie, you remember what giggling is, yes? How about seriousness? Any serious left? Oh no. How about the EBGBs? No more EBGBs? Would you like your EBGBs back? No? Okay. No doubt about it. Now, last time I saw you, you told me you cut your cigarette smoking down from 2 packs to 4 cigarettes. And you know what? Those 4 cigarettes, I'm still looking at that and I'm going, damn, Sylvie, yeah, that's still a little bit disgusting, isn't it? You know how many chemicals are in 4 cigarettes? Laced with like metals and stuff. Have you actually seen what that stuff does to your brain? It literally causes holes in the brain, messes the whole energetics up. What happens in things like Alzheimer's? You have buildup of those heavy metals. When you think about that, that's pretty silly, isn't it? Now, you know the times and places. You know the times and places where you feel the need to have a cigarette, don't you? Maybe it's after a meal. Maybe it's when you first get up in the morning. And part of the reason why, Sylvie, is because you haven't learned to train your brain to fully relax in those moments. Because you realize it wasn't the cigarette you were going after. It was the feeling. Now, what you could begin to do is you could go in your mind and remember that wonderful feeling of relaxation. In fact, you could go back to a time where you felt exquisitely, wonderfully relaxed. You think of a time and you go, oh, there's probably someone a little bit better than that, isn't there? Yeah, there you go. Now we're talking. A really wonderful, exquisite memory, and pull it up in your mind. Only see what you saw, hear what you heard, and get that really relaxed, wonderful feeling in your body. You know that feeling? Okay, I want you to take the feeling and double it. Make it stronger. Let it spread all the way up to the top of your skin, to the top of your head, all the way down to the tips of your toes. And then what I want you to do is I want you to take up this arm here, hold it up stiff. And I want your unconscious only to let it down at the rate and speed at which you take that craving, which you used to have for cigarettes, and fill it with that relaxed, wonderful feeling. And at the moment your hand touches your knee, your unconscious will have taken that feeling and overwhelmed every feeling of cigarettes. In fact, cigarettes you'll look at as something for what they are, in your past. And the thought of it will make you giggle. And just let yourself do it slowly, not too fast. Let yourself really test yourself. You know those times and places where you really felt the need to have a cigarette. And as you feel that need, I want you to fill it with the giggly, relaxed feeling. And then you see a pack of cigarettes. You know what cigarettes you kind of like, didn't you? You could see those pack of cigarettes coming up and saying, oh, Sylvie, just have one more. They could see them creeping up all along onto your bedside table saying, Sylvie, just want to have one. It won't be a problem. It's okay, Sylvie. You can just have one. You'll find yourself giggling until you just take that relaxed feeling and clear away every bit of desire. Because you know, Sylvie, you've been desiring the wrong thing. You've been desiring little cigarettes, 4 little cigarettes, as opposed to being the woman you would absolutely love to be. The woman in control, the woman who can put her mind to anything for the rest of her life. And boy, doesn't that feel wonderful. And I want you to start to see her big and bright in your mind. Relax. Now, for you, your unconscious can signal me. Your unconscious can signal me yes by taking this arm, holding it stiff here, staying nice and relaxed. And just with honest, unconscious movement, I want you to just raise a finger on your right hand to let me know that it knows the instructions. That's a yes. Now, I know your unconscious knows the times and places where these thoughts creep up. And in fact, I'd like your unconscious, if it's willing and ready to do so, to make a new plan. That every time that thought comes up, as opposed to feeling bad, you giggle. And I want you to raise that right index finger if your unconscious is ready and willing to make that shift. All the way up. Now, very good. You can let it go back down. What I'd like you to do is I'd like you to make a new plan. Because it's not enough to clear away a bad thought. It's not enough to clear away a bad memory. You got to put something else in its place. And I'm wondering, what kind of thought, what kind of memory for the future would be absolutely wonderful for you to put in its place? If you were going to plant a seed, plant any seed you wanted in your mind, a future memory, what would it be? What kind of state would you be in instead? And what would that look like? What would it feel like? What would it sound like? And I want your unconscious to see it big and bright and clear. And as that comes up, I want you to start to feel a pull between your thumb and your nose. And it's just the attraction to be that new guy. And I want your unconscious to just let your thumb come closer and closer to your nose at the rate and speed at which you take that image and move it closer and closer and closer in your mind, where you see the image getting bigger, brighter, clearer, stronger, more and more, closer, closer, bigger, brighter, and then stop right there for just a moment. And on the one hand, see that guy you'd absolutely love to be. And then right beside it, see the guy you used to be. The guy who scared the shit out of themselves, at least creatively. Now, as you look at those two images, I want you to decide which one you want to be. This is how we get smarter. We go, do I want to be this or do I want to be that? And then you let one image fade. And you bring yourself all the way into the guy you want to be. Closer and closer and closer. And the moment your thumb touches your nose, that new feeling, that new guy is going to become the overwhelming, dominant, driving force in your brain. Closer, closer, all the way, there you go. Now, just hold that there. Because something wonderful is going to happen. You're going to surprise yourself delightfully. A lot of people doubt. We clear away stress and they go, wow, why am I not stressing out? There must be something wrong with me. Why aren't I asking myself what's preventing me from messing up my whole body and giving myself a heart attack? Good gosh, imagine if you did this for 30 years in your life. You'd risk a heart attack every time you drive. That seems silly. In fact, the more you try to think about those thoughts, the more you're going to laugh them away. Because they always say you're going to look back and laugh. My policy is why wait? And just sleep on that for a little bit more. 1, 2, even deeper, more relaxed. Because I know sometimes when you're sleeping at night, you dream. Now, oftentimes those dreams, they just happen out of coincidence. And you don't deliberately think, what would be the most exquisite, magical thing for me to dream as I'm sitting here in a trance state, watching things, listening. Because now's the time for you to really begin programming it. Programming the guy you would absolutely love to be in your personal life, in your professional life, in each and every area. And I want that to start to become clearer and clearer in your mind so that you lay out, so to speak, a full roadmap for your future. Something where you just program in that GPS, the guy you want to be, the memory you want to have. And it all starts to become clearer and clearer. Now, Miss McVeigh, for you, in a moment, I'm going to have you open your eyes. But when you do, I want you to stay in this really relaxed, comfortable, altered state. And I want you to use your hypnotic camera. And first, I want to check to make sure she has her hypnotic camera. And I want you to just raise one finger on your right hand to signal me yes that you have your hypnotic camera. A full unconscious response. There you go. Now, what I'm going to do is in a moment you're going to open your eyes. 1, 2. And we're going to bring a neuroscience journal over. Open your eyes. Stay in a nice relaxed state. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I have a journal of neuroscience here. I'm going to open up a page in the brain. Now, I want you to stay in a really relaxed state, and I want you to just take a picture. Take a picture of the brain with your hypnotic camera. Take a picture, 1, 2. And then close your eyes for a moment and just see that picture in your mind. Make it a little clearer. Make it a little more focused. Can you see it? Now, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to reopen your eyes for a moment. Now, we're going to start with a few here. This here, amygdala, hippocampus. The amygdala controls emotions. The hippocampus controls memory. And what I'd like you to do is close your eyes and look at that picture in your mind. Close your eyes for a moment and see in the lower the amygdala, which controls emotions. And I want you to see something, a little image of something, like a little note, a sticky note of something that drives you crazy. Something that emotionally just gets on your nerves. Maybe it's something a kid does, a spouse does. Can you see it? And then, over to the right of that, I want you to see the hippocampus. The hippocampus controls memory. And where you see the hippocampus, see an absolutely wonderful memory. Maybe a vacation. Oh, I know you just went to Hawaii. See one of the most wonderful memories you had when you were there. Then, at the upper left front of the brain, can you see it in your picture? I want you to see the frontal lobe. You see it? See the frontal lobe, and that's the executive function center. It's basically the librarian of the brain that controls thoughts, emotions, where all the books are. Can you see a librarian on that region? Little sticky note? And then, look at the top of the brain. You can see it on your image. Look at the top of the brain and see the motor cortex, the top of the brain. It controls our sensation, our motor function. And see a little sticky note. And on that sticky note, see yourself getting, the best massage ever. Maybe from your husband if you have a super husband, but if not, from a best masseuse. Or you could even see your husband doing it and think, hey, I'm going to train him to do that. And see yourself getting a most exquisite massage as you're all paying attention to what I'm saying. And then go to the back of the brain. Can you see the back of the brain? Okay, go to the back of the brain, at the back. The occipital lobes. The occipital lobes, they control vision. Ooh, yeah. And then there, see something pretty exquisite. Like, see your hypnotic camera. Using your hypnotic camera to see your hypnotic camera at the back visual lobes. Isn't that cool? Then, we're going to have one more region. We're going to train you here. I want you to know the whole cerebrum. And that's kind of the whole neocortex, the new part of the brain. And it plays a big role with our thoughts, our thinking. And maybe see like a light bulb, something for ideas. Now, you have that image in your mind. Okay. You see the entire brain with your hypnotic camera. Now, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to just visually scan. Go through the first region we talked about. Have you got the first region? Now go through the second region. You know the second region we talked about? Can you see the image? Now how about the third region? Can you see the third region? And then the fourth. You got the fourth? Yeah. Look at that little smile. Let that come all the way up. Feel good. And then the fifth region. And then the sixth. You got them all? A full nod if that's a yes, a no if that's a no. A full yes. Now, ladies and gentlemen, in a moment, Tammy is going to open her eyes. And she is going to teach you all 6 regions of the brain and what they do. And you all are going to be amazed. And rather than looking at her and saying, oh no, I could never do that, you're all going to look at her and say, geez, I'm going to do that. Now, open your eyes. 1, 2, 3. Now, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to just go in. We're going to make those pictures a little bit clearer. Stay in a nice, relaxed state. And what I'd like you to do is go back inside, just relax, and see the first region we talked about. The first region is called the amygdala. And see that spelt out. You can spell it out phonetically. Under an image where you see something emotionally that maybe drives you a little bit crazy. You got that image? And see it spelled out underneath? And then go to the next part of the brain, the hippocampus, that controls memory. And see a wonderful memory posted right on that part of the brain. See hippocampus spelled out underneath. Have you got it? Then go to the front of the brain, see the frontal lobes. You see the frontal lobes? And see that part of the brain controls executive function. And you could see a little librarian frenetically going, putting books away, organizing the shelves. Looks a little silly, funny. Maybe you could see yourself. Then, you got that image? Go to the top of the brain. Top of the brain, see the parietal lobes. The top of the brain, parietal lobes. Control sensation and motor function. See yourself getting the best massage ever. and post it right on top of that part of the brain. Then go to the back of the brain. Hypnotic camera, baby. See a little camera, post it right under occipital lobes. And then finally see the whole neocortex lit up and a light bulb turned on in your mind, because it controls thinking. Now what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to quickly scan all the way through. Let's go through the first image. You got the first image? The first memory you had? Then you got the second image for the second region? You got the image for the third one? The image for the fourth one? The fifth one? And then the sixth one. Okay, now let's float backwards. And I want you to answer me honestly. If you don't have it, it's okay. We just have to make it a little bit clearer. Go from the sixth one and go to the fifth image. You got the fifth image? You got the fourth image? Now, what's the first image?
The Amygdala.
The amygdala.
Yeah.
And what does that control?
Emotion.
Yeah, very good. And what was the second region?
Hippocampus.
What does that control?
Memory.
Pretty good. And then what was the third one?
Frontal lobe.
And what image do you have there?
Executive decision.
Exactly. Okay, now go to the back of the brain. What picture do you have at the back of the brain?
Lobes, 2 lobes.
Can you see your hypnotic camera there?
Mm-hmm.
And what does that part of the brain control?
Vision.
Good. That's pretty darn good. 4, 5, 6 regions of the brain. Now I want you to remember that and know that this is just the beginning, because I know you've probably never done that before. Deliberately stop to make precise images in your mind. And I got news for you. The first time you do it, you may not do it so good. But the more you relax and go into an altered state when you learn things, the easier it will be. Now what I'd like you to do for this final piece is I'd like you all to just see an image in your mind. I'd like you to plant a memory for the future. A memory of the future you that you want to be now for a change. Because this is just the beginning. And rather than being a judge of whether you do something good or bad, it should just be a guide. And for all of you here listening, you all can start to set a new direction in your mind of the person you would love to be. And in fact, when it comes to remembering names and faces, which is what we're going to do next, and when it comes to remembering lists, it's in part modulated by the tour we make in our mind, by the magical memory tour. This is a long-lost art. And I want you to just see one place, one structure. Maybe it's your house, wherever you live. Maybe it's a building you work in. And see that building, see that place, see that structure. And go right to the front door. And at the front door, I want you to put an image. An image is something that you really would want to remember. Maybe the person you want to be. A big, cheery, happy, memorable you. And then walk in through that front door and go into the kitchen and see yourself cooking up something wonderful. A second thing on your to-do list for the future. Something that you would magically love to do. And you can see it, you can make it absolutely outrageous and funny. And then go into your main room, to your great room, to your family room, and see a great memory for the future that you want to have with your family. It could be with martial arts family. It could be with sports family. It could be with related family. A group thing that you would like to share and participate in the future. And then just run through that real quick. Go through the front door, go through the kitchen, into the great room. See those 3 things laid out there. Because this is just the beginning. And tonight, when you sleep and dream, I want your brain to begin to expand and elaborate on this. Where you go through that house in your mind and you begin to put in each and every room, you put new and better things that you want on your future. And you make it outrageous, you make it silly, you make it goofy, you make it fun, you make it sexy. Because that's what works on the brain. That's what lights the brain up. And in a moment, I'm going to count to 5. And when I get to 5, you're going to open your eyes and wake all the way up. Only, you're not going to go back to your normal state of consciousness. You're going to go back into this new, brighter, more memorable you. You're going to go out of the trance you've been in. The trance where I had to scare myself and feel bad. The trance where maybe I didn't play golf like an absolute superstar and superhero like I could begin to now, if I only dared to see it and dream it in my mind and feel it with each and every fiber of my soul. To be the healthiest, happiest, most in control, most vivacious, wonderful woman ever. Oh my gosh, you've been settling for those tiny, incy-wincy little feelings with cigarettes. Isn't that funny? You could be having the biggest, brightest, most powerful, smorgasmic feelings ever in life. You could be having music-gasms, life-gasms, dancing-gasms, health fitness-gasms. Gosh, you could be go golfing with this one here. You could be having golf-gasms, having the best time ever on the golf course. You really haven't started exploring yet. And now would be a good time for all of you. And I want you to open your eyes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Open your eyes. How you doing?
Good.
Good. So what was it that you worried about again?
Getting into an accident.
Oh. You got a big smile on your face now. So you think you're going to worry about it more?
Probably not, no.
Oh, probably not. Well, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
All right, you can go out.
Appreciate it.
How you doing, Miss McVeigh?
Good.
That was pretty impressive. You got those regions down. Now I'm going to be calling on you now when I'm having issues with a client. Hey, Tammy, tell me what that region does. Now, this is just the beginning.
Yes.
And you did pretty darn good.
Yes.
And what I'd like you to do is, because I know for you, there are certain things that you want to create memories for in the future.
Yes.
And you know what they are.
Yes.
Now, I'd like you to take the time to see those more clear in your mind. Do you think you're going to do so?
Yes.
I think so too.
Yes.
Good job.
Thank you.
Now, so Sylvie, I haven't told anyone this, but I'm not a smoker, but I carry around smokes, packs of cigarettes for events like this, and in fact, I have a few packs in my bag. Would you like one?
No, thank you.
No, thank you?
No, thank you.
Do you have any cigarettes here for us?
I do.
Oh, you do?
You're welcome to them.
Oh, okay. You sure you don't want one?
No.
Really?
No.
Okay, how about tomorrow when you get up?
I don't think so because I'm going to get ready to go to the gym.
Okay, well, that sounds like a pretty good substitute.
that?
Wonderful. Well, you're welcome. Now, just so you know, every one of my clients is, I give them something new to fear. As opposed to fearing whatever their problem was, they fear me. Because I call up on them to check, is Sylvie smoking? Did she smoke today? So you better be on your best behavior, dear.
You said something when I was under about something about my brain burning up or something like that. That's enough fear.
If you, yeah, it was actually wasn't in the brain. It was actually up the behind. But if you dare to smoke,
I'm just so happy that I'm still laughing.
wonderful. Me too.
Thank you.
You're welcome. to check. Is Sylvie smoking? Did she smoke today? So you better be on your best behavior, dear.
You said something when I was under about something about my brain burning up or something like that. That's enough fear.
If you, yeah, it was actually wasn't in the brain. It was actually up the behind. But if you dare to smoke,
I'm just so happy that I'm still laughing.
wonderful. Me too.
Thank you.
You're welcome. One of the reasons what I do is I do this especially with kids when they first come in is parents come in and they ask me, well, could this kid go to university? They have dyslexia, they have ADD, and then I just do something to totally blow their mind. Is in less than 30 minutes is I'll get them to remember the whole anatomy of the brain by really deeply encoding it. And the magic is in the encoding. And I have clients, and we're all going to do this one now, is who in here has trouble with remembering names? Now the cool thing is when you guys do that, do you ever go, hey, you know, I know your name, I just can't remember your face? Nah, the other way, it's like, I remember your face, I just can't get the name. Now, I have clients come in and they tell me this. So who here has issues remembering names? You? Last year, you have issues remembering names? Okay.
I
Now,
have looked at people that I've known my whole life and blanked on their name.
you married?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, sort of.
Oh, sort of. Gotta love women. Never get a straight answer, right? On some days I'm married, some days I'm not. Some days he's nice to me, some days he's not. Keep them guessing. Oh boy, good luck to the men out there. Hey, Enzo. Now, when someone gives you their name, how do you encode it in a way so that you'll remember it?
Sometimes I make it into a rhyme, like Mary, Mary, quite contrary, imagine. But sometimes I
Do you like Mary had a little lamb and then chop them off? They're not your friends anymore, so they're probably the only ones you do remember are the ones.
But sometimes because I've known people all my life, there's no need
So
to.
because you've known them your whole life,
You just know their
you
name.
feel that you could just forget their name.
Yes, exactly. I feel like you're gonna forget their name.
You're a good friend.
That's what I feel.
You know, I know you now. I'm totally taking you for granted. I don't even know your name. Okay, so you don't really stop to actually encode their name so you can remember it.
No.
Now, just kind of as a computer guy, I know that if you actually don't put information in a certain way, it'll be hard to find it. So if you put everything on top of your whole computer screen without filing things, do you file things like, do you organize things on your computer? Or oh, you do. So you do have the capability to do that.
Yes.
Okay, good. Now, so can you remember, see in your mind a person's face who you have difficulty remembering?
It can be anybody.
It could be anybody.
It can be anybody, yeah.
Okay. Now, do you think you could remember this gentleman's name here?
Yeah.
Oh, you do?
Well, sometimes, yeah, but sometimes it's, yeah.
It's a yes/no question.
I don't know. There's an answer.
I don't know.
Okay, no.
The language, everyone. So that would be not. So if you could remember it like that, you know, it might tell you that you were wrong about yourself,
Okay.
which means you could be wrong about your other limits, which you don't think you can do well, which you probably can, which is kind of nice when you think about it,
Okay.
right? You know, it's nice to be wrong about our limitations.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, it is.
So what I'd like you to do now is I'd like you to just look at this gentleman here,
Okay.
ask him his name.
Hello. And your name would be?
Sigh.
Hi, Sai.
Okay. Now look at his face, and what I want you to do is look at his face and take one feature about his face and make it almost into a cartoon, a caricature. So you're almost making fun of this fine gentleman here in your mind.
All right.
All right? So you could take his nose, you could make a huge nose, and you could see and then write the name Sai under it.
Okay.
All right, all right, now take a picture, take a look, then close your eyes and make a caricature of his face. So take one feature, blow it completely up, make it really distinct, make it really funny. You got it?
Okay.
Okay, can you make it any funnier than that? There you go. A little bit funnier. Okay, and see his name spelled phonetically under Psy.
Okay.
You got the image? Show me with your hand how big the image is. Oh, so you got a nice big image. So you see his face real big, and you got one feature, like just totally like a caricature, and you see underneath Psy.
Okay.
Now what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to open your eyes, look at Psy,
Okay.
and have the image pop up in your mind.
Okay.
You got it?
Okay.
Okay. Now what's his name?
Sigh.
Got it. You got the image?
Got it.
Okay, now let's start with behind you. I want you to ask.
Oh, good afternoon. Nice afternoon.
Hi, my name is Suze.
Suze.
Okay.
Okay, like Susical. Sure. Susical.
Now, I want you, no auditory dialogue, all right? This is what the kids with dyslexia do. They sound things out, it doesn't work. We gotta make clear pictures, all right? Otherwise your memory will be screwed, and we don't want that.
Okay.
Now, look at Suze,
Okay.
take one feature about her face,
Okay.
and then make it into a caricature. Make it something really either funny, it could be either something sexy or something really, really silly, into a caricature, okay?
Okay.
You got it?
Okay.
You got the picture?
Yep.
Close your eyes, see the picture, and then see spelt out phonetically underneath the picture, Suze.
Okay.
Okay, now look at Suze and make the picture pop up.
Sorry.
Good job. There you go. You know you're doing it right if you're laughing. Good job. Okay.
Okay.
Now, what's her name?
Suze.
Suze. What's his name?
Sigh.
Now, when you look at side, you have the picture pop up.
Yes.
Good. Now, look at the back and
It's Stuart.
Hi, Stuart. Okay. All S's. What's with the S?
hey, focus on the task here, dear. Look at his face, take one feature in his face and make it really distinct into a caricature. Take one feature. There you go. There you go.
I forgot your name already.
That's usually the reaction I get.
He's just kidding. Now, don't worry about his name. Look at his face. Look at his face and make a caricature of the face.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Take one feature and really blow it up.
Okay.
Maybe take that goatee. Give him a Fu Manchu goatee.
Done.
Done? You got it? Okay. Now ask it. Now see the name and spell out the name Stuart under the picture.
Okay.
Can you see the name spelt out?
Yes, now I can.
Okay. Now what color is it? The spelling of the name.
Black and gray.
Okay, just choose one color.
Oh. Black.
Okay, now change the color of it to red.
Okay.
Now change it to green.
Okay.
Now change it to slightly pink.
Easy.
Okay, she's got a crush on you. Now, you can see the picture?
Yes.
Okay, you see the spelling of the name underneath?
STWART.
Okay, now open your eyes. Now look at him and make the picture pop up.
Okay.
Got it?
Got it.
Okay, what's his name?
Stuart.
Right on.
Stuart.
Now,
Suze. Sigh.
there you go, high five. Let's do 4 more real quick. Look at this gentleman here.
Okay.
Ask him his name.
And your name would be?
Enzo.
Oh, Enzo. Okay.
Look at his face. Take one feature, blow it up, make it a caricature.
Okay. Okay.
Got it?
Got it.
Okay, and then see Enzo spelled out underneath? Spell it out phonetically.
Yep, that's an easy.
Okay?
Enzo.
All right. Now look at his face. Does the picture pop up?
Yes.
Okay. Tell him his
Your
name.
name would be Enzo.
Yes. Good.
Okay.
Now let's get one more.
Okay.
Back left.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. And you? And your name would be?
My name is Vic.
Hi, Vic. I'm Basha.
What is it, Bosch?
Basha.
Nice to meet you.
Stay focused here.
Okay. I'm looking for that. Okay.
All right, take one feature, make it crazy. Spell out the name underneath. And then look at his face and make the picture pop up.
Okay.
You got it?
Yep.
See the picture? Tell him his name.
Vic. Hello, Vic.
And who's that there?
Enzo. Stuart. Suze. Cy.
High five! Now, come up here for a minute.
Got it. Oh, yes!
Yeah, come on up here. Come on up here. All right. Now,
Okay.
take a seat.
Okay.
Now, do you see my point?
Yes, I do see your point.
Okay.
Yes.
Now look at it.
Okay.
Look at it.
Okay. Sorry.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry.
I do a lot of endorphins. No need to apologize. If you're laughing, you're doing it right, okay?
Good.
And if you're laughing at me, even better.
Okay.
And if you're laughing uncontrollably while you're in trance, while I'm talking to everyone else, even better.
You picked the right person.
Okay, good. Now, look at my finger, and what I want you to do is, I want you to just take a deep breath in through your mouth. Hold it, and slowly let it out through your nose. And just start to relax. Now, I know you believe that certain things exist, like the sun exists, because you planned to come to a seminar in advance. So you were planning on the sun existing. And just notice where you see the sun in your mind, where the image of it is, and that feeling of certainty. Because in that same place in your mind, I'm going to want you to see an image of Basha. Remembering people's names crystal clear, making crystal clear, funny caricature images, and having a whole lot of fun with it. And having these learnings and understandings stay with you for only the rest of your life. Sleep. And just softly drift down and just relax. Gently, softer and softer still. And just take this arm, hold it up stiff, because I only want you to let it go down at the rate and speed at which you take all those memories and times where you forgot names, where you were impolite to your friends. Think of all those poor friends who've been feeling bad. Damn, Basha doesn't even care about me. She doesn't even remember my name. They could be at home feeling depressed right now. And now you can start to do something about it. Take all those memories where you didn't remember, where you remember to forget, and now remember to remember. And see all those old memories of the old Basha fading off into the distance, and clearer, brighter, bigger in your mind, maybe even a little silly, big bright images of the Basha you're going and are becoming now. 1, 2, sleep. Just relax. Because I want you to go deep enough inside your unconscious that you can start to dream the perfect dream. Start to dream the perfect dream where you see the Basha you would absolutely love to be. Because you just had one small experience that took less than 5 minutes for you to remember crystal clear 6 people's name like that. And this is just the beginning. And just imagine if you learned this crisply and easily and quickly each and every day. And those learnings began to build more and more and more to the point where a month from now you could remember 100, 200, 300 people's names like that. You could look at a book, and as opposed to just glossing over and saying, oh, I'm not good at remembering it, you could really begin to look at it and see it clearly in your mind and make a bigger, brighter, clearer memory. Because part of memory is how big things are in our mind. And when you make something bigger, if you look at a word on a chalkboard from the back of the class, it's small and hard to see. But if you walk all the way up to it in your mind and see it big and bright and close, it can become something much more memorable. And the memory I'd like you to see is a memory just for you. And I know your unconscious knows more about you than I do. Just let your head find a comfortable position. Therefore, your brain would know more about you and what the perfect memory would be for the future. Believing that things can and are possible for you. Now, do I have anyone else who would like to develop a more photographic memory? Gregory, come on down. Sai, you want to come up here? Okay. Come have a seat, Gregory. Now, Gregory, I've actually worked on a little induction here with a lot of my clients that really quickly synchronize the hemispheres. Now, I know you know a lot about the brain and neuroscience, and what happens is when we go into really profound flow states, I know you have it, and sometimes it happens coincidentally. You're working on a problem, and then before you know it, you get into this wonderful flow state. And it happens just by chance. I'd like to start to do it more deliberately. Would you like to do that too?
Yes.
Okay. Then just look at my hand, look at my finger here, and just follow it with your eyes. Follow it to left, right, back and forth, just with your eyes. Keep your head nice and still. Nice and still, nice and still, nice and still. Just keep looking. Follow with your eyes, follow with your eyes, follow with your eyes, and then sleep. And just relax. And just let go. Because what I want you to do is I want you to pull up a memory in your mind. That moment where you get that aha solution. I know you've thought of really wonderful, exquisite ideas. And I know some days that it comes and other days it doesn't. I talk to musicians and artists and they say, well, if I'm in the mood, I have a great day, maybe I write 3 songs. But sometimes it takes me a few months. Or I have people who are writers and they go, some days it just pours and other days they're mega droughts. Or I talk to golfers and they say, oh my gosh, some days I'm just hitting the ball, I can't miss a shot. I can't miss the fairway, I can't miss the hole. Other days, I can't even get near it. And it happens coincidentally. But if you begin to focus your brain in a new way, you can start to do it deliberately. Because what's important is not the content. What's important is the feeling. And I want you to pull down one of those memories in your mind, a time where you got a creative solution. And pull it down in such a way that you step all the way inside it. You see what you saw, you hear what you heard, you feel what you felt right at that magical moment where you got the solution. You remember that feeling? Where a solution popped into your mind? And if you think about one of the things when you were working on a project or thinking about ideas, when an idea crystallized in your mind, an aha moment, where did it crystallize, I may ask? Where did you see it? How big is it? How bright is it? How clear is it? How wonderful is it? And see it in that location in your mind. Remember how that felt. And then let the image fade and keep the feeling spinning in your body. Because what I want you to do is take this arm, hold it up stiff, and I want you to only let it down at the rate and speed at which you remember to forget what's not important, and so remember what is. To focus on the feeling you felt in those moments, where you got a really wonderful new idea, where you skip across the memories in your mind, all the way to the point in time where you got that aha moment. And mark out that feeling, and go through one memory, and then through another memory. And each time, building upon building upon building that feeling until the moment that hand touches your knee, ooh, your whole body is going to be vibrating with that wonderful feeling. Deliberately, in such a way that you can almost engineer in your own mind a little control panel, a little dial for creativity. And all you need to do now is just let that hand go down at the rate and speed at which you take that creative feeling. You begin to let it spread. You let it spread all the way through your shoulders. You just feel it through your shoulders, down through your elbows, down through your hips to the bottoms of your feet. And in a moment, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to shake your wrist twice and you're going to drop all the way inside of that feeling. That feeling is going to go from being a part-body sensation to vibrating and resonating through each and every cell in your body. And something magical is going to happen. Suddenly that feeling is going to lead to new things. Because all you need to do is to access those creative, brilliant solutions is access that state of consciousness which you're getting ready to drop into. 1, 2, sleep. And just relax. And just drift down. Focus on that feeling, and as you do, begin to see ideas. New wonderful ideas emerging in your mind. Creative possibilities. Creativity is founded by just letting your mind flow. It's not something you have to work at, it's something you just allow to happen. And whenever you're having difficulty learning something, it's simply because you're not going into the right state. So rather than trying to grind your way and stress your way and feel bad and ask, why am I feeling bad? And what's preventing me and stopping me from finding the memories? Who cares about those roadblocks? Let them dissolve. And just go into that state where you begin to take good feelings, relax with them, and let your imagination just run away with you for a few moments. Now, I have an empty chair here. Ooh, silence. You know, it's like, oh no, don't pick me. Now, more for you too then. Now, what I'd like to do, Basha, is I know your unconscious has been close enough and has heard what I've said. And in fact, it's already responded and made these changes. Now, I'd like your unconscious to just signal me by holding this arm here stiff and just lifting your arm, this for a yes and this for a no. Does your unconscious understand the signals? Okay. Now, I'd like your unconscious to make it so at the moment where Basha asks someone their name, she slows down consciously, takes a feature of the person's face that she's looking at, and distorts it. You were distorting it in a way where you completely blanked it from your mind, which is kind of funny and cool, but we're going to do things a new way now. I'd like you to take the image and distort it in a remarkably funny, silly way. You could even do it sexy, but just don't tell anyone. Otherwise, you could get in trouble. I don't want them coming after me. But if it leads to a better love life, then all the more to it. It's one of the positive side effects. They ask me, Chris, what are the side effects of your therapy? I say, well, lovemaking is 10 times better and 10 times as long. Because all the time you spend worrying, you're going to be loving doing something else, which is going to include making clearer pictures in your mind. Things more cartoon-like. Things more creative, more imaginative. Just like you did when you were much, much younger. And when your unconscious is ready and willing to make it so that Basha slows down in her mind, slows down the speed, and really looks, You can't remember something you don't really look at. And you have to really look to represent and therefore remember. Isn't that right? So, when your unconscious is ready to make those adjustments, I want it to just raise that hand up. And it knows how to do so. There you go, a full response. There you go. And then just let your hand just gently go down as you make all these final adjustments in your mind. And that should feel really good. Now, Gregory, I know your unconscious has been close enough to hear the words that we've said, both it to you and me to you, because there have been two people hypnotizing you simultaneously. And I'd like the other one that's been hypnotizing you, the one in your mind, to become more creative, to take the internal voices in your mind and turn them into something more wonderful. And to turn the voices of doubt, turn it into something more like Sylvester the cat. Suffering succotash, I'll never be able to do it. Oh, it's a really silly thing to do. Maybe I'll never be able to do it. Suddenly, when you make the voices more interesting, you begin to try more interesting things. And to make the pictures that you've been making, both consciously and unconsciously, make them more creative, more imaginative. And to take that creative feeling and let it guide you into wonderful states. And what I'd like you to do now, Gregory, is I'd like you to just take that creative feeling. You know that creative feeling? Feel that creative feeling. And just think of a situation where in the past, maybe you were a little stuck. Maybe you were a little bit acting in a way where you didn't want to. You were frustrated. You were banging your head against the wall. You repeated the same behavior over and over again. And feeling that creative feeling, I want you to make a new plan. See Gregory acting in a new way. Innovations are created by going outside the box and bringing it back in. Seeing ideas in new ways. Looking where no one else has looked. Looking where you haven't looked, yet can, now. Now, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to take this arm, hold it up stiff here, and I'd like your unconscious to make a few adjustments. I'd like it to make it so at the moment Gregory gets stuck, he starts to get curious. He goes, and begins to turn on that creative feeling. And you can raise that right index finger if your unconscious is ready and willing to make that adjustment, such that being stuck actually leads to being more creative. There you go. Now, what I'd like you to do is just think of all the times and places in your life. Areas where maybe you were too stressed, areas where you felt pressure, heaviness, and weight. And just run through those things, see them in your mind, only feel that new creative feeling. Because it will become a guide. And this is just the beginning for you both. And tonight, while you sleep and dream, you're all going to do the very thing that leads to memory. And that's sleep. And during sleep, our brain dreams. We go through REM states and alpha states. Only tonight, I'd like you to put that target of the memory of the person that you'd like to be big and bright in your mind. And the moment you begin to think about stress or a problem, I'd like you to remember to forget that problem. And so get creative, and so find a solution, and so be happy and creative, and remember new and better faces for only the rest of your life. And in a moment, I'm going to count to 3, and you're going to open your eyes and feel an absolutely wonderful, unexplainable sense of well-being that only you could possibly understand and feel completely in this moment. In fact, you're going to feel so good, other people are going to be looking, they're going to be suspicious. They're going to be like, what's gotten into Basha? Her memory's too good. What's she been up to? People are going to look at Gary and think, how is this guy a candidate for the Nobel Prize? Where did he come from? you're going to really begin to surprise yourself delightfully with how creative, how wonderful life can become. And you're going to remember this for only the rest of your life. And that's going to be long, it's going to be wonderful, it's going to be fully awakened. 1, 2, 3, open your eyes. How you doing?
The world seems brighter.
It does.
How you doing?
It does seem brighter.
You feeling pretty good, eh?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, most of these.
His name? Brian.
You didn't ask.
No.
Well, you can ask him now.
And your name is?
Gregory.
Gregory. Oh.
See his face?
Oh, yes.
You got it? Oh, you got an oh yes there, Gregory. Now the other guy's got that. Well, you're going to have to remember this face because Gregory's a real creative guy and he's going to do big things in the world. As are you.
Yes.
Pleasure.
Pleasure. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Yeah.
Gregory,
Gregory.
thanks for coming.
You're welcome.
You feeling good?
I'm feeling good.
Good. Now, we're at the time, everyone, the time for you to go back to the world. However, I'd like to warn you, the world may seem a little bit different because while I've been telling and talking about certain stories, I haven't just been talking to your conscious mind. I've been talking to your other mind. And in fact, that is the mind that generates all those thoughts, those internal voices, those feelings, those behaviors that happen before you're aware of it. And what happens is this becomes just the beginning. For Basia, for Gregory, this is just the beginning. And rather than being one night where they just did something cool, I want it to become something where it's a foundation of them beginning to explore their own brain. Because I got news for you guys. If most of us, we've basically just taken one arm and we've only moved it in one position. We've moved it up, we've moved it down. So therefore, when you're asked to get a glass to remember something, it's not something that we're used to doing. So therefore, it feels awkward. It feels a little uncomfortable at the beginning. And that's just because you haven't built the underlying neural circuitry. Now, my job is to basically look at the functions that we want to perform as human beings and just simply figure out what's the most effective way to build the circuitry to enable us to do it. So in the brain, there's really no such thing as something being wrong. Because even the person who says they have a bad memory, you remember some of the things you forget, which is kind of cool. Even the person who has PTSD, most people look like this is bad. I think, wow, they have a perfect memory. Now, there comes a point in time where they need to learn the art of forgetting that memory and putting a new memory there, but the brain works. So this is where for all of us we can begin to realize that our brain in fact does work. And it does certain things well, and it does other things not so well. And when it comes to remembering, you remember some things well and other things not so well. And what I do is I take the things that you don't remember well, that you want to remember well, and have you remember them in the way that you remember the things that you do remember well. Perhaps you all, in this last 1 minute, I'd like you to just investigate your mind for 1 second. Just close your eyes for 1 minute. Close your eyes for 1 minute and just see a really wonderful, exquisite memory in your mind. Something that has a really good feeling attached to it. Something that takes those lips and turns them all the way up. There you go. I know some of you, I hear it doesn't count unless you show a little bit of teeth. I know my clients will say, he goes on that smiling, giggling thing, geez. That's because when we feel good, it releases endorphins. It helps us to see clearer. Now just notice where that wonderful memory is in your mind. Where do you see it? What's the size of it? How close is it to you? How bright is it? Notice where that good feeling, where you feel it the strongest in your body. And then for a moment, clear your mind and think about something that you forget. Something that you just don't remember well. And notice where you see that in your mind. Now, is there a difference in the actual location of the image? Most likely. Is there a difference in the feeling? Is there a difference in what we say to ourselves? Yes. Now what you can begin to do is you can take the image of the thing that you normally forget and put it in the place where the image of the thing you remember is. You could see the image moving in your mind, the feeling changing back to that smiley feeling, that wonderful feeling, and see that image of the thing that you normally forget, you can now remember in that new place. Now, in that new place, does it not feel different? Yes, it does. Now, at first, it takes a little bit of practice. You take the things that you normally forget and you put it where you remember, so that way you remember to remember. And then quickly your brain can start to make a habit of this. In fact, you could even do another quick comparison. You could think about something that you believe with absolute certainty, like the sun exists or that breathing's good. Notice where that feeling is, notice where that image is in your mind, and then compare that to something that you don't necessarily believe, like what you'll have for lunch tomorrow. Notice the difference where the image is, the sound is, the feeling. And then what you could do is you could look at where that certain belief is, and you could deliberately paint a new memory belief in your mind. You could paint the biggest, brightest belief in your mind where you see yourself being able to learn anything you put your mind to, with no doubt about it. Only a big, bright smile. Now, as you look at that person in your mind, do you want to be them? Then you need to actually look at them. You need to make them bigger, brighter, clearer, and closer. In such a way, at that moment before you do whatever it is you normally do to stress yourself out, whether it was to smoke cigarettes, whether it was to eat cake, whether it was to turn on and watch TV, or name your bad habit while you're lying in bed, see that person you want to be instead. Then you'll forget what's no longer important and remember what is, that clearly in your mind. And this is just the beginning, and when I count to 3, you're going to wake all the way up. But before you do, I'd like to give you one suggestion. That as you look at that person you really would love to be, that you say to yourself, yes. 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 And then say to yourself the word yes and make the picture come up in your mind. And then any moment where you need to focus, where you need to break through, you can simply say yes. And that new you will be there, fully awakened. And when I count to 3, you'll open your eyes and have an absolutely wonderful sense of well-being. You'll feel like you just came out of the best movie ever. You'll feel like you just learned the most wonderful things ever that will completely transform and change your life now. You'll go out there and you'll be ready to really take on the world and rather see the possibility, everything that's there that maybe you just haven't looked at yet can now. Start to rise on up. 1, 2, 3. Open your eyes. How you guys doing? Doing good? I love these two. You know, if they were driving on the road, someone pull them over and, say, "You hide?" You should see the people when they walk out of sessions with me. They're like, down the steps like, I got to make sure they're all the way back out. You guys all the way back up? Yeah? Wonderful. Okay, now do you guys have any questions?
What was his name?
Gregory.
Boom! There you go. That a girl. High five.
What was his name?
Side.
Boom. Her name.
Suze.
His name.
Stewart.
His name.
Oh, Vic. Stewart. Vic.
Is that guy right there? No, white. White shirt.
Oh, Enzo, I'm sorry.
There you go. Woo! Perfect. High five. Nice. Wow, impressive.
Yeah.
No. Isn't that wonderful when you surprise yourself?
Yes, it is.
Well, I mean, you guys were sitting in the back seat, but you were really getting some of the learnings that these guys were learning too. Because as I'm speaking to them, I'm not only speaking to them, I'm speaking to everyone. So I hope you guys all enjoyed it. Obviously, in 2 hours, we can only cover so much. This is a topic where I do a lot of really deep, intricate work in my practice with clients, and it's really specific, memory specific for certain things. When people come in, they say they have a bad memory. I want to know what specifically they need to be able to remember, and then quite quickly we can train them to be able to do so. Now, I have lots of different skills to optimize the brain. One of the things I'm doing is I'm doing an upcoming neuro-linguistic programming training at the end of May. So if you'd like to learn the actual skills to be able to really redesign your mind inside out and be able to do so with other people very fast and conversationally. And people who I work with, I can do it very, very conversationally. I had a guy, a friend told me he fell off in the subway, and he fell off and hit the rails. And the moment he thought about it, he could get himself back to phobia. And I just asked him conversationally, well, what do you think that would have looked like from the person who was standing across on the other side, one of the guys who was watching on the walls? And if he were to watch you, looking from his eyes, how would it have looked to actually seeing you jump off? And then instantly he stepped into that perspective, completely removed himself from the feeling, and it was gone. Then, of course, I did a little hypnosis to anchor it in, but just a quick technique that you can rapidly change the brain to do all kinds of things. Cure phobias, get rid of depression, get rid of anxiety. And it's not so much you're getting rid of things, you're actually just rechanging the brain's response. Memory, learning. So for people who are coaches or people who just want to learn the skills to redesign your own brain and help other people optimize their brain, that's something I'm going to be doing. And just so you know, I've learned from the creative genius who has actually created the whole field of neurolinguistic programming. So that's really the land of behaviors, brain, and mind optimization. So I'm kind of into that. I don't know about you. All right, so that's everything for tonight, guys. You got a question?
Just a quick question. How often do you get ab reactions in your subjects?
Ab reaction to what?
Negative reactions to the process, like of going into a deep hypnotic state. Like, do they ever like a negative reaction of some sort?
Oh, like people who you have people who would let's say, this is the silliest thing ever. Therapists and hypnotists do it. They try to fight people to go into trance. When I actually, from the get-go, I get on their unconscious side. And I just do quite simply, I just ask. Most people do guessing games to try to hypnotize people. I just ask them a few questions. Number one is, what would be stopping you from going into a really deep hypnotic state? And they just tell me, well, I wouldn't be talking to myself. Then you shut off the auditory, then you get them in the stand, they go, wow, I was in the best trance ever. Most hypnotists don't ask you that. They just go, oh, well, they can't be hypnotized. No, they can, you just haven't learned the way for them to do it.
Okay, and have you ever seen anyone panic in the state or get really emotional with a panic attack?
Oh yeah, a lot of people. I want the panic attack to be there. Only it's not the result I want at the beginning. Because if someone has anxiety, it has to be there if you're going to reprogram it. Otherwise, you're just going and doing therapy, talking about it. It ain't there, so when it comes back out in regular life, you haven't really done anything in that state. So actually, you want to elicit the state. So I'll just connect that state to a state of relaxation. Now, rather than seeing something as something you can fail, you can't fail at this. Every person can go into an altered state. Every person has nightmares. Every person can daydream. Every person can visualize. So what it is, it's a matter of the brain's a targeting machine. So it's what specific results would you want to have for people? And I just love how people ask questions. They want to look for, where would something not work? Where I'm training them to look for all the places where it would work. I don't care where it doesn't work. Because it actually could work where it doesn't work if you change the way you thought about it. Isn't that right? Because here's the thing, when we have problems, it really boils down to the way we're thinking about it. You change the way you're thinking about it, it changes how you feel, it changes your perception, changes what you can do. Case in point, you take a little LSD, you go out, the world looks totally different. Those trees, man, they don't look nearly the same. If you have any doubt about your ability to change your state, to change your perceptions. Now, I prefer like getting the brain to naturally do it as opposed to taking LSD, because our brain naturally has LSD in it, and we can actually get the brain to go into a similar state without the drug. The drug's just basically signaling the brain to go in the state. I'd rather have a learned person just to have the controls to basically remote control their own brain. Now, if you took the time that people spend watching TV with a remote control changing television stations and built a remote control for states in their brain, building in states of creativity, states of hypervisualization, states of hypermemory, states of relaxation, states of profound focus, time distortion, time dilation, this is the kind of stuff I do. Make sense?
Yep.
Yeah, so the nice thing is it's your subjective experience. You can't fail. That's the kind of cool part about this work. You can't fail, you can't be wrong. Because even the person, when a guy was working with a guy who was hospitalized, he was talking to the devil and talking to secret societies. Everyone's trying to convince him there's not secret societies. And of course he says, well, the secret societies would say that. He said, well, you would say that. The devil said you'd say that. No, they're real to him because they're imagining him. So I go in there, I just figure out how it works. And then I do something to change the description. So this guy, if he's thinking about secret societies, then scaring the crap out of himself to the point where he's cutting himself with OCD fits, I have to give him a mechanism where he can do something about it. And if someone's paranoid, I'm going to have him move away from the state of being paranoid. So everything can work if you find the way to make it work. That's the difference. Most people look for where it's wrong. We look for how it works perfectly, and then how can we make it work for the person. Does that make sense? So if a person's paranoid and scaring the crap out of themselves, we got to give them something better to be paranoid of. And for this boy who was hospitalized, it was the state of being helpless. Because no one wants to be helpless. This is a rich kid, and you should see the little crappy hard bed he was in emergency in there. And I was going, how nice living conditions. And then I labeled every behavior, the times where he was thinking the thoughts and cutting himself, the time where he took the drugs and he couldn't control the thoughts, as helpless. And I said, do you want to be helpless? And of course, he said, no. So then I said, you need to learn the mental techniques to protect your mind. So then I gave him some rituals. And I hypnotized him in emergency, which was pretty cool. I actually closed the curtain. He got out within the hour. He was home that day. Remarkably cool. I'm the only guy he trusts now. I got his side. He says, Chris, I want to come see you once every week. So I'm giving him more and more rituals to the point where he becomes familiar controlling his own brain. Because it became familiar for him to just think these thoughts and scare himself. Now, sure, maybe he did some cocaine. Sure, maybe there were some drugs in there, steroids, which messed the neurochemistry. So what we had to do is just train him back to a state of where he can function. And it's the same thing for all our habits. The reason why we do them is because they're familiar. It becomes familiar for you not to forget, to forget. It was familiar for you to just blank people's names. Now something else is going to be more familiar. Does that make sense? Do you have any other questions?
No, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Look, so, whatever you look for, you'll find. If you ask yourself, what's wrong with me? You go in front of a mirror. Oh boy, your brain will tell you. It'll be, hey, you're not smart enough. Hey man, you're not good enough. Who are you thinking you are? You ain't good enough. Hey man, you ain't good enough to start a business. Who do you think you are? You ain't good enough to be a 100 millionaire. But if you ask, how am I going to do this? Your brain will start to give you the answers. Make sense? Any other questions? Any questions about nutrition? I didn't get into that too much. I'm going to include it in the book I'm writing.
Will you do a session on nutrition or
Yeah.
module? Or?
Yeah, I'll do a module on nutrition. You guys be interested in brain power nutrition?
Yeah,
The next one?
What is the?
Brain power nutrition?
Yeah. Will you talk about nootropics?
I'll talk about nootropics too. You guys interested in that?
I'm interested in
All right, cool. And then I have to do a little hypnosis because I like it, so I'll do the drug of choice.
Okay.
All right, sounds cool with me. I'll talk nutrition for you guys if you guys let me do a little drug of choice. All right. So I'll do nutrition. So what we can get into a few things. We can get into nootropics, both synthetic and natural. I've experimented with both. And you see some guys get famous on things. They talk about things like modafinil, and there's all these different nootropics. It's becoming more wide known. Then there's a lot of natural nootropics, herbs and supplements and things that we can take to enhance our cognition. Then there's the building blocks of nutrition. Then there are actually nootropic practices that we can do, almost like shamanic practices. And yeah, we'll focus it all on nutrition. And then
What's nootropic?
nootropic stands for something that enhances the mind. So a nootropic would be a substance of some sort that enhances some form of cognitive ability. Now, nootropics generally fall under a few categories. You have things that, number one, would enhance energy levels. So something like that would be like a stimulant. So in that sense, something like coffee could be called a stimulant. Or you have nootropics, synthetic ones, something like modafinil. That would be a stimulant. Or you have something like L-tyrosine, a nutraceutical. Or you have something like, let's say, ginseng would be a natural, something that would increase focus levels. Other ones, you have ones that increase communication between two hemispheres of the brain. So you have something like piracetam, which is a synthetic thing which actually enhances connection between left and right hemisphere. So it helps with abilities like word recall, verbal fluency, these kinds of things. Now, I try to steer people away from drugs as much as possible and use hypnosis to do it. But it's kind of cool. I mean, if you want to experiment with both, go for it. Because the cool thing is if you've been in a state once and I can just train your brain to get back there automatically and unconsciously, you really only need one state. Or you just need a pretty good imagination. And we all had it. We were all born with it. And then you have nootropics, things that are like vasodilators, things that increase blood flow. Things like ginkgo biloba, things like vinpocetine. I know a lot of this stuff. I got into this systematically. First, I got in through the technologies, the brain imaging, neurofeedback, hyperbaric. This is the stuff I do in my practice. I got really into accelerated learning in nootropics. So I used them a lot myself. I tested my brain with the QEEG to see what the brain was doing. I work with a lot of local docs, and we would test people. We would put them on regimens. Someone come in with Alzheimer's, we'd put them on a regimen. You know that mocha beverage recipe you talk about? I gave them the mocha beverage recipe. We gave them choline, acetyl L-carnitine. Boom. Italian woman speaking both Italian and English in less than 5 minutes. And we could see the whole brain changed. These kinds of things are possible. So that was what I got into initially. Then I'd get to the point where I would have people neurochemically balanced. So we would have blood panels, we'd have their brain, they'd be perfectly balanced, but still they'd have OCD. Still they'd do stuff like, you know, the anxiety and those paranoid behaviors. The chemistry's completely balanced. So that's what got me to the programming of the mind, the NLP, the hypnotic work. Make sense? So that way we can basically address all aspects of ourselves and get the whole machine working as a finely tuned, harmonized machine and get rid of all the limiting bottlenecks. Sound cool? So yeah, we can definitely go through the nutrition, brain power nutrition for the next one. Sound good?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, cool. Now, who here is ready to have the best memory ever for the rest of their life? Who's ready to surprise the heck out of themselves with the best memory? I want you to put your hand up. I want you to say yes, a big yes. Yeah! No, I couldn't hear you guys. A bigger yes. I want you guys to send me emails saying the world has no idea what got into us. One more yes. All right. I'll be watching you guys. All right, well, thank you for coming out tonight, ladies and gentlemen. And we'll let you know when the next seminar is. It will be on brain power nutrition.